You'd think owning land outright would protect you from entitled neighbors, but if you've ever dealt with an HOA, you know better. My family's land has been in our name for 3 generations. A low-lying 40-acre patch with a natural spring-fed pond and the old creek that meanders through the back half. It's beautiful, quiet, and I always planned to retire here, away from the city. About 5 years ago, the city expanded fast, and developers started sniffing around. I told them all no. The land wasn't for sale. Never would be. I thought that was the end of it. Turns out, it was just the beginning. A big developer bought the land next to mine and filed plans for a fancy new subdivision called Silver Creek Estates. The name made me laugh. The creek they were talking about wasn't even on the land they'd bought. It was on mine. They assumed they'd get my consent for easements and drainage. They assumed wrong. When I wouldn't sell, they got sneaky. Next thing I knew, their HOA president, a woman named Karen, naturally, claimed I'd abandoned the back half of my acreage. They filed some shady paperwork, convinced the county that my land was unimproved wetlands with no clear title, and got a rubber stamp approval for eminent domain. I was deployed overseas when all this happened, so by the time I got home, they'd bulldozed trees, rerouted part of the creek, and built 58 houses smack on land that legally still belonged to me. I tried reason first. I showed Karen my title and the old survey markers. She laughed in my face. She said, "What are you gonna do? Sue us? We have the county's blessing. Good luck, buddy." She shouldn't have underestimated me or my land. See, that little creek they thought they could tame? It fed into an old irrigation system my granddad built decades ago. A series of buried culverts and manual gates that could divert water into a wide, low-lying meadow when needed. Back then, it helped flood fields for rice. Nobody bothered to check if it still worked. So I had my lawyer file suit, and while that crawled through court, I got busy. I cleaned up the old gates. I checked the channels. Then, one good rainy week later, I opened every gate wide open. Water gushed down into the meadow, which happened to be right where those 58 new houses sat. They'd built right in the natural floodplain, without real drainage because they thought the creek was controlled. Within hours, backyards turned into ponds. Within days, basements filled up, lawns turned to swamps, and foundation slabs cracked. Karen came stomping up my driveway screaming about property damage. I pointed at my survey markers and said, "This is my land, my water. Take it up with the county." Turns out, the courts agreed with me. The paperwork they'd used was bogus. They'd stolen my land. The judge voided the eminent domain, hit them with millions in damages, and ordered them to remove every house or buy the whole flooded patch for more than triple the original offers. The developer went bankrupt trying to fix their mess. The HOA dissolved. The houses are still sitting empty, half underwater, waiting to be torn down. The creek still runs where it wants, just like my granddad intended. These days, I sit on my porch with my dog and watch the ducks swim where those overpriced houses used to stand. They called it Silver Creek Estates. I call it my pond. Don't mess with a man's land. Nature and old farmers have a funny way of winning in the end.